All right, look back session is live. So this is task number 5. Again, the usual, set up a virtual environment, fork and clone. I'm gonna do that. Just gonna grab the link. So I'll say Python 3 -m VM, I'll give it a name. We'll call it the usual task 5. This is 5, right? Yeah. Okay, so go in there, source, then activate, I'll git clone. When I list, I see task 5, right? Go in there. Now what do? I install requirements. All right, so this is the same thing that we do every time. Pip install -r requirements. So, see what's the next step. It says the list view function has been partially written for you. Provide the dictionary key restaurants with the list of all restaurant objects. Okay. Oh, so let's open up our project.
Why should I make admin page? يعني ليه ما نسوي باكيج
So go to my views. Here it is. So here it said provide it with the list of all restaurant objects. So the way to do that is saying restaurant dot objects dot all, right? What about here? Now it says render the list of restaurant objects to the HTML file provided. In the list view, you'll want to display minimum data, just the name and the description. Okay? So I'll go to list.html. Here, I'll display restaurant.name and restaurant.description. So I didn't need to do anything else because the loop was already written there for me. Clear? So if we take a look, all I had to do was fill in these 2 lines and pass this query set over so that I can grab all the restaurant objects. Any questions? All right. Excuse me? أشغل؟ خلنا ننطر. All right, so let's try it out. Let's try it out. Let's run the server. Ooh, what does this say? Oh, okay, so this is just throwing an error because of, what is it, the detail? Yeah. So it just doesn't like the detail view. Right now, it doesn't like this. I'll just comment this out for now so that we can turn it on. Oh, let me just migrate. Run the server. Okay. Let's go to the list page. What is it? Restaurants list. What's this? Name restaurant is not defined. Import. So, how am I supposed to use restaurant when I haven't even imported it, right? So I have to go up here and say from dot models, because it's in the same folder, import restaurant. Whoops. Restaurant. All right. Cool. All right. So now, if I try to turn it on, there's nothing. Why do you think there's nothing here? It's empty. I don't have any objects to show. So if I go to my admin page, can I log in? Yes? No? Why? I don't have a super user, right? I don't have an admin user. But didn't I already create one before? It's another project. Different project, different database. Right? So, manage.py, create, super user. Give it a name. Give it a password. Run the server. Log in. Whoops. Let's add a restaurant object. Let's go back. Refresh. It's working. So that's the list page. All right. Let's do the detail now. Let's go back to the list of tasks. So now it says, the detail view has been partially written for you. Provide the dictionary key restaurant with the specific restaurant object using the ID. All right. So I'll go over here. And I'll say, okay, you. So shall I do this? So restaurant.objects.all ID equal to restaurant ID. Get. Right. So the query that allows me to grab a specific object is get. Right? Now, where is this coming from? Restaurant ID, where is this coming from? Okay, but where? The primary key is ID. No, this is the view. Where is the view getting this from? The URL. All right. So let's go to the URLs file. I have to create a parameter here, right? So I'll say greater than less than int restaurant ID. All right. All right. Is that it? Is my detail view going to work now? Is it? Why? The HTML file. All right. Let's see what the task says about the HTML file. It says render the restaurant object to the HTML file provided in the detail view. You want to display all data. So I want to take a look at my fields. What fields do I have in my model? Let's see. I have name, description, opening time, and closing time. So I'll display all of that in the detail. So I'll say restaurant.title, restaurant.description, opening time, closing time. That's it. Oh, it's name, right, it's name, my bad. All right, cool. Let's try it out. So list still works. I'll say detail, and then 1, right? Restaurants, oh, I misspelled detail, my bad. So it works. It's ugly, but it works. Right? So, the last part of the task was using the URL tag, hyperlink the restaurant objects in the list page so that when a user clicks on a restaurant, it takes the user to the detail page. What does that mean? That means when I click on this, I want it to take me to the detail page. All right, let's just create a couple more restaurant objects. All right, so just have a couple, okay? So how do I do that? So let's open up our URLs. And I want to use this href, okay? So there's a bad way and there's a good way to do this, okay? Let's see the bad way first. So the bad way to do this is, I can just say slash restaurant slash detail, and then I just replace this with restaurant.id. So this will work. And let's see it work. All right, let's just see it work, and then I'll tell you guys why it's bad. So if I click on it, take me to the detail page, click on it, click on it, click on it. So it works. Okay. But the reason that this is bad is this URL pattern is bound to change. It's very regular that URL patterns change. The most common reason is search engine optimization. People change what's in here, what's typed into the URL, for it to be more optimized for search patterns, right? Now you guys remember, we've been having this pretty useless thing called name. We haven't been using this till now, right? But if you guys remember, we said that this should be unique. So instead of using this pattern that might change, we use something that's very unlikely to change, which is the name. All right? So we'll take this, and instead of typing all this, we use something called the URL tag. All right, and what the URL tag looks like, something like this. So curly percent, and then you say URL. Okay. You give it the name. All right. And whatever value this needs, you pass it. So what value or what parameter does the restaurant detail need? Restaurant.id. Yes. So curly percent, URL, the name, the value that it needs, percent curly. Cool? Let's see it work. Refresh. Still works completely fine. Even if I change the URL pattern, oh, not this one, sorry, let's just play around with this for now. It still works, even with the URL pattern changing. All right. Cool. So, I heard someone say not cool. Let's go over it one more time. All right. From the beginning. Views, right? So what we needed to do here was to retrieve all of my restaurant objects. All I need to say is restaurant.objects.all. Restaurant is the name of my model. I need to be sure to spell this correctly. And before even using this, I need to make sure that I've imported the model. Okay? Because how am I going to use something if I haven't imported it? Right? Now, for the detail view, I need to say restaurant.objects.get. Why .get? Because I need to get back one individual object. All right? And what .get needs, it needs a unique value. The unique value in our case is the ID. All right? And depending on the value that I receive from the URL, it will show me a different object. All right? Clear so far? Cool or not cool? Okay, everyone said cool. All right. Now, let's forget about this part for now. Now to show this, now again, we're dealing with a list of objects, right? We're dealing with a list of objects here. So restaurants is actually the restaurant's key. And this gives me a list, so I need to loop through it, right? And these values here, name and description, are fields from my model. Same thing goes for the detail. If I go to the detail.html, name, description, opening time and closing time are all fields from the model. So I need to make sure that I am calling the right fields with the right spelling, with the right capitalization. Cool? Okay. So let's go to the last thing, which is the URL. Okay? Now, of course, in HTML, the way to link or the way to create a link is using something called an href, an anchor tag. So this is called an anchor tag. Okay? Now the way that we provide it with a dynamic URL, so this is called a dynamic URL, because whatever you change the URL pattern to, this will change with it. Okay? So the way to do it is, let's take all of this out. You use the URL tag. Curly %, URL, curly %. Okay? Now, where am I trying to go from the list? To the detail, right? Which means I want the name of the detail URL. So here, I put the name of the detail URL. Now, does the detail URL have any parameters? Yes or no? I heard someone say no. I'm gonna wait until everyone is sure of an answer. What's the parameter? The restaurant ID. So yes, it does have a parameter. I need to provide it with a value, right? So restaurant detail needs restaurant ID. So the value that I'm gonna give it is from this variable, right? This represents the restaurant object, right? So I'm gonna copy it. Okay. What value do I need from it? .id. Clear? Okay, so now if I refresh, try it out, it works. Let's try something else, also with the URL tag. Let's say in the detail page, I want to add a URL that's going to take me back to the list. Okay? All right. So I'll go to the detail. So I'll add a URL here, href. Oh, wait, sorry, a tag. And I'll give it a URL tag. Oh. No, I don't have my shortcuts here. All right, so where do I want to go here? the restaurant list. So I grab the name, all right, the name, not the pattern, the name of the restaurant list view. And I put it here. Does the restaurant list have any parameters? No. There are no parameters here. Only the detail has a parameter. All right? So there are no parameters here. So it just stays exactly like this. Okay? I'll just add a word here. Let's say back to list. All right. So now, this takes me back there. I go to the detail. This takes me back to the list. I go to the detail. It takes me back to the list. Cool. Cool. Any questions? You want some time to let this digest? All right. Let me open up the code for you guys. Give me a minute. Let's have the views over here. Have the list and detail next to each other.
Someone's asking if you can open the URL as well.
I just did.